senator from Connecticut.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I ask that there be unanimous consent that the Judiciary Committee be discharged from further consideration of H.R. 680 and the Senate proceed to its immediate consideration.
The clerk will report.
H.R. 680, an act for the relief of Arpita Kurdekar, Girish Kurdekar, and Vandana Kurdekar.
Is there objection to proceeding to the measure? Without objection, the committee is discharged and the Senate will proceed.
Madam President, I ask unanimous consent that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Without objection.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, this measure provides relief through H.R. 680 for Arpita Kurdekar and her parents, Girish and Vandana. Arpita came here from India in 2014 to pursue higher education. And like so many students before, she was drawn to the strength of our universities. She started her master's degree at the University of Buffalo, heartbreakingly and tragically. In September of 2016, in a freak accident, she was struck by a falling tree and suffered a severe spinal injury that caused her to be paralyzed from the neck down. But her parents came to this country from India to be at her side, to be her aid. And remarkably, she's not only survived, but she has thrived. In fact, she's found the strength of will and character to overcome that paralysis. She's now a resident of Connecticut as she pursues a PhD in structural engineering at the University of Connecticut, while also working as a graduate research fellow and research assistant. Her research is on the cutting edge, exploring how technologies, including virtual reality, can enhance learning opportunities in engineering and arts. It is a miraculous story. Here, she has access to the physical therapy, to other resources that she needs and services, and of course, her parents are essential to her performance and indeed her thriving as she has done. If she's forced to return to India, she would have drastically reduced opportunities for her and also for this country, which is benefiting enormously from her work. And she would have needed access to physical care and therapy that was unavailable there. She would have effectively been homebound due to lack of accessibility for the disabled. In all kinds of ways, her life will now be productive and rewarding to her and to this country. And that's why, in recognition of those very difficult circumstances, the Kurdekar family has been accorded the permanent status to stay here as a result of our passing this bill without objection, in effect, unanimously here. And I thank my colleagues for that action. I also want to talk briefly about the Afghan adjustment bill, because I've just come from the Senate swamp, the lawn outside the Capitol, where a group representing the veterans and Afghan allies and others who's traveled across the country, who've been literally on the steps of our Capitol to tell us, in effect, that we have an obligation to the at-risk Afghan allies, literally thousands of them, who have come here and have only a limited amount of time under their current status, the humanitarian parole, and then could be deported back to Afghanistan and to a place where they would have targets on their back, where they would face persecution, torture, death. We need to give them permanent status here. We need to provide these men and women who have risked their lives for our country and put their futures on the line for us, the safety and security of staying in this country. We cannot turn our backs on the Afghan allies who managed to escape in those frightful days last summer, nor can we turn our backs to the at-risk Afghan allies who remain there. And I have advocated their cause. I've championed their plight for the months since we withdrew from Afghanistan. And I will pledge to them, to our veterans who have so bravely advocated this cause, and to the Afghan allies who've come to this country, that we will continue this fight. Some of these individuals are former Afghan special forces. Some are female members of the Afghan Defense Forces who accompanied our troops and provided vital intelligence that saved countless American lives. Overall, these Afghan allies, now at risk, worked with our troops and diplomats, helped to save their lives and guide them. I know from my son's own experience as a United States Marine Corps officer that our men and women in combat were, in fact, saved and made secure because of their interpreters, their guides, their translators, all who worked with our troops and diplomats. We must honor our commitment to them. They put their lives on the line for us. A failure would be a stain on our national honor. Great nations keep their promises, and that is what the Afghan Adjustment Act would enable us to do. We need to pass it next session if we cannot do it this session. I regret that right now it's not part of the omnibus budget bill, but our bipartisan group, and it is truly bipartisan, and we have the votes to pass it, even with a 60-vote threshold, will continue fighting and working for this cause. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.